sometimes I handle some really weird requests at the Goldspot Pens office, and I get some of these emails sometimes that just kind of make you scratch your head a little bit. So one day, Roy had reached out to me, and he reached out regarding an opportunity that he carved out for himself. So, normally on most days, let's say if I was really busy, I might just hit delete and then go on with my day. But this guy seemed a little interesting, and I could afford a little bit of entertainment this week, so I was interested to see what he had to say. I really wasn't sure if his request was serious or not, but I liked the cut of his the cut of his jib, and was eager to kind of see and meet with him and see what he was all about, especially with that YouTube channel of his.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is you're watching this. Right now, at this moment, I am currently en route to the Goldspot Pens offices. Why? Tom Otto. If you don't know who he is, Google Goldspot Pens, watch their videos on the YouTube. I hope they have some Brazilian bikini dancers there waiting for me as an introduction, show, and sign of good faith. I'm just kidding, I'm not that arrogant. So I heard this rumor once that texting and driving while unsafe is even worse than texting and talking on the phone. As of right now, there is no study on how dangerous it is to video log while driving, but I'm going to assume it has got to be similar in terms of statistical data regarding danger. So I'll check back in a little bit. Currently about a few minutes out from the offices of Goldspot Pens. Pretty excited. I wonder if they forgot. And here we are. We found a parking spot. I come out and my car's been towed or missing. I wasn't allowed to park here. Alrighty, let's see.
Welcome to Goldspot, please. Go ahead, take a seat.
Thank you, Tom. I will take a seat.
No, not that one.
You want me closer to you?
There's actually a place that's at the head of the table there.
That's for you. I get the head of the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a garbage pail upside down.
It's modern.
I love your table. Is this for me?
Got you some fresh, hot coffee there.
Oh, it kind of burns. A little bit of a burn.
That's good. I'm Tom Otto.
Tom.
Yes. And
I know who you are. I have watched all of your videos, Tom. All of them. 300 or 500 times each. I know who you are.
all right. Interesting. And so what are you here for?
I'm here for a job.
Oh, yes. Please, my card.
just take one then?
Actually, we don't allow photography here.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
First of all, let me also give you an application to fill out as well.
Of course, Tom. Because you asked me to. I'm gonna do this for you.
But about the position that you were looking for.
Let me start with this. What does every library have? Not just books. Not just books. What they have are bookkeepers. And what they do is keep the books. I am going to be your pen keeper. And ink Somalian.
Right. That position doesn't quite exist. That's not something that is kind of like the usual thing, like let's say sales or customer service or marketing or things like that.
I can be your digital marketing manager.
What do you know about digital marketing? I'm sorry that comes across a little bit brash, but I just, I was just trying to get an idea of like what your skills are.
Tom, I am fantastic at marketing. Marketing is all about getting other people to do what you want. Let me demonstrate. I forgot to bring a pen. Can I borrow your pen? It's fine. I'll use it.
The nibs is scratching.
Okay. Great. It's a nice pen, but you see what just happened there, Tom? I wanted your pen, and got you to give it to me. I am a marketing manager. I am your marketing manager.
Uh-huh. But let's just say that the digital marketing manager position is currently fulfilled.
No, it's not. I'll hear from you. You'll call me, let me know when I can start.
Well, first of all, I would have to see your application back and make sure that that's forwarded to the right channels, just so I could take a look. Besides obvious like shortcomings in terms of a skill or whatnot, but I really do like your enthusiasm. I like your interest in pens, and oh my. The instructions clearly state that the application needs to be filled out in blue or black ink, and here it is in green ink. But you know what? It was a pleasure meeting with you.
I'm looking forward to starting this job with you guys. Okay?
All right, so welcome everybody. Tom with Goldspot Pens here, and I'm glad that you joined us today. Thank you for watching our video here. We're doing things just a little bit differently this week. We're doing a video with a guest. This is PenBoyRoy of the PenBoyRoy YouTube channel, and we're going to be here just to talk about pens and have a good time. So, Roy, welcome.
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time it is you're watching this, thank you for clicking on this video. First off, I want to first say, Tom Otto, thank you very much for having me today. Thank you for being awesome people here at Goldspot Pens. Now, as we all know, I don't work for you. The only way we're affiliated is by how you guys are really helping me out, promote my channel, allowing me the exclusive PenBoyRoy fountain pen review channel discount code, where you guys email me, I send you a code, and you call up Dawn Johnson. She's a very nice lady upstairs. I spoke to on the phone for many purchases, and she's the only one that'll be able to coordinate this discount for you. So thank you, Tom, for that.
Welcome. Well, and you're not obviously you're not applying for a job either. So
Obviously, I'm not a psychotic person who's infatuated with Tom. Not really.
Slightly infatuated.
Maybe.
Slightly.
But, I'm relatively new on the fountain pen review channel. There's been a lot of people out there, Tom Otto being one that I've watched for a long time.
Want to take a look at what you brought with us today?
Yeah, today I brought in my Visconti 12 pen case, 11 pens, all of which were provided to me at a very good discount for a review, which some of them I have gotten to and some of them I have not gotten to. If you watched my channel, you'll notice some of them I have reviewed, such as... Well, pretty much none of these. None of these have been here.
Didn't you review the Visconti, or also the Monte Grappa as well?
The Monte Grappa Blue Blazer. Now, some might think that this was a don't pull the trigger. It was, however, it was only in the event that you're a new fountain pen user. This is definitely a pen that someone who's more advanced and who has more experience writing with fountain pens would definitely enjoy, but there were some aspects that I pointed out, such as the scuffing, which was an issue for me. It can be bothersome to some, and others, such as Tommy was mentioning to me before, he does like pens when they have an aged and worn look to it.
Yeah, they look good. It's a Wabi Sabi effect, they call it. It's like that Wabi Sabi. It's like when things are just start to break down and start to show their age, whether it's through patina or even if you look at the Nakaya, they have that one design where it just looks like the pen is actually just like fissured, and they people like that sort of effect because it just already kind of feels like acid wash jeans where it's like worn in.
It's actually interesting because the way they colored this is they let somebody take a blowtorch and just cream it with hot hell all over it. It gives this interesting rainbow effect. And that also is part of the reason why I like it so much. It has almost an aged metal look to it. But at the same time, it's very glossy and it does get the scuffing. But you're right, I think that it does depend a lot on the user. Some people like, for example, let me take the Visconti Divina, the green one.
Right.
It has brassing that goes throughout the body.
Right, the stripes, yeah.
I loved the look of that pen. Once it was new, but as soon as it started the patina, it would drive me crazy.
Yeah, you'd have to keep taking the polishing cloth and go,
oh my gosh, I look like a freak sitting there at work with a polishing cloth, just wiping it down all day long. They already think I'm nuts that I'm bringing 12 pens, and at work, anybody who uses a pen over 50 cents is out of their mind.
They look at you sideways.
Oh, sure. This is the Lamy All Star.
That's the All Star, yeah, the blue-green.
I love the Lamy All Star pens. These pens are fantastic. And what I like about them the most is this. Although it's a $40 pen, right, I believe?
About there, yeah.
$40. This is a pen that I think someone who's an enthusiast for years could use, as well as if I needed to get somebody a pen who has never used pens before, fountain pens. As a matter of fact, there's a buddy at work, he saw my channel, and instead of make fun of me like everybody else did, he went and purchased a Lamy Safari in white, and he loves it. He knows what I'm talking about now. Let me move on to this one here. Now, this one here I have not reviewed yet. This is the Monteverdi Prima. This is the new one. What is the color called besides green?
I think it's just green stripe or something like that. I don't think that there's anything fancy about it.
But it's a really nice color. With this pen here, and it seems like with all the pens that Yafa distributes, the body material is always like a cast acrylic. It's never really injection molded, cheaper pens.
Right.
But they don't cost as much as a cast acrylic pen that costs upwards in the hundreds, do
right.
they? And I appreciate that about Yafa. I also appreciate that a lot about another brand that I actually really love that you guys provided me with was the Laban.
Right, right.
Have you seen the Laban review I did on it?
Yeah, absolutely. The yellow.
Yes, the Laban yellow. I spoke to the distributor about the pens before I did the reviews. I try to get as much information about it before I put up a video. And I do very much love the cast acrylic pens. Yafa is a good source to get them without having to pay $500-$600.
Yeah, top notch, or even like in the, I mean, these being that they're in that 50-75 range, like you're looking at like most other cast acrylics, or hand-turned acrylics, you're looking at like 150, 200 very easily, like a Pelican or something like that. It's going to be up there. So anything that's like a resin that's even just has like a slight variation in the marbling and things like that, usually it's pretty high up there.
When I first started using fountain pens, I had a Pilot Metropolitan. As a matter of fact, I had this Pilot Metropolitan, and
nice, the retro pop.
Yeah, I loved it. To me, this was like, oh wow, this is the pen of all pens. I'm not going to use another pen. And I'm looking at other pens like a Lamy that was $50. I think it was, how much is the Scala? The Scala.
Oh, Scala's up there. Oh yeah. If you go with a steel nib, I think it's about $70, $100.
It's reasonably priced.
It's reasonable, yeah.
But for a new guy who's thinking, I just spent almost $20 on a Pilot fountain pen, and then I look at a cost being in this $50 to $60 range, I'm like, whoa, I would never do that. I even remember saying to somebody, there's pens for $100. Now I'm looking at a $100 pen like, well, this one's even more than $100. And this is one of my favorite ones.
Oh, the 2000.
The Lamy 2000. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, well, this is my everyday go-to pen. If I lose it, no big deal. It's only $160, $70, $80, you know? But for a newer person, what I think is if you gift them something over $100, two things are going to happen. The cost of the pen will overwhelm them, and they're going to save it and put it aside and just look at it. Or they're going to
feel like, I can't touch it.
Like it's a sacred item, and it is.
I can't take it out of the house.
Right. And they're afraid of a scratch. They're thinking, it's just too expensive for me to use. So I think that this pen here, the Prima, and they have a lot of different color options. If you're going to gift something to somebody and they're newer, probably something like this is probably a better gift than, I would say, a Beaumont right off the bat.
I would tend to agree with that, yeah.
And the thing about Edison pens, and I love Edison pens, I have custom orders up the wazoo. The thing about Edison pens is this: when you first receive one, if you've never bought an Edison pen or you never paid this much, realize when you get it, it's going to feel really light. It's going to feel like, well, why does this cost so much? And that's how I felt the first time I got my first Edison. It was a Nouveau series, and I was like, well, this is really disappointing at first. And I was just very wrong. I was just ignorant to what it is that made it quality. And the only way for me to find that out was by experimenting with other pens made of acrylic that were of lesser cost or quality. And then I started to realize, wow, these Edisons are on point. But the amount of work that goes into it, especially if you took the time out to watch the videos on how Edison pens are made, gives you a real sense and appreciation of the actual quality that's in it. This thing is just packed with quality. It has good acrylics that they actually hand polish and make sure that it is as shiny as a mirror. I love the Edison pen line. I also love the idea of this. You have just an all-American dude who had a dream. Starts off in a person's bedroom or garage. They're doing so successfully, and he has this company that's really big. It's still just a guy who knows how to make stuff good, learns how to do it, does it so well that people keep giving him money for it, and now he is able to make a good living. So Edison pens are great, yet I think this pen here, fantastic starter pen, as well as the Metropolitan.
Yeah, absolutely.
You throw one of these Metropolitans at anybody who never had experience with fountain pens, you are the fountain pen equivalent of a crack dealer.
Yeah, your gateway drug.
Yeah, this here, the Metropolitan is your gateway drug.
That's your first hit for free.
Right. You want to talk about gateway drugs into Visconti pens?
Sure.
I brought with me two different Rembrandts. This one is the forest color. I also have the Rembrandt in red. This one here is very nice. These are two different series, right? This one's a new series?
Well, this is a newer, updated, this is the new release for 2018. So even if you notice too, is that the nibs are different. Like, you had the...
Jack, my pen from me.
Sorry, you took my pen before. You have the calligraphy nib on here, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so this is a new introduction into the Rembrandt series, is that they put the steel calligraphy nib on, which has got the two breather holes. And
that's showing the two breather holes. So if you look at that breather hole right there, there's two of them. And what this looks a lot like to me is what happens if you dip this pen nib into that pond that's on The Simpsons, where the fish has like 8 eyes. That's what happened to this nib here. Writes really well though, I gotta say. I'm gonna do a review on this one, and what I'm gonna mention about the way this one writes is whatever issues that Visconti had in the past regarding the nib, I think they're a thing of the past. I got information from a source that said that their nibs are all sent to a nibmeister. That nibmeister tunes them up, does his wizardry magic on it,
Right.
blesses it, sends it back, and before it gets to me, the end user, it's been tuned, adjusted, and all that stuff. Now this one writes fantastic. I got mine in an extra fine. Actually, I got it from Dawn.
Okay.
And when I wrote with it, I was impressed, and I'll tell you why. Have you ever used a Franklin Christoph stub, or rather...
The SIG?
Yeah, the SIG nib, stub italic gradient.
Well, I have an italic, a medium cursive italic. Mm-hmm. So not necessarily like the smoother version, but but like the Masayama nibs that you have on those are amazing.
I'm sure they are, but this one writes a lot like a stub italic gradient nib.
Nice.
It's just finer. So what happens is when you do the downstroke, and this is probably why they call it a calligraphy nib, is it has a slight thicker line width than when you go across.
Right.
But they don't advertise it in any way, shape, or form as any kind of specialized grind. For this one, you're actually getting more for your money in terms of the sophistication and the way it writes. I love this pen.
Yeah, so it's definitely an upgrade over the original series, which just had the regular stainless steel nibs and they just had the fine, medium, and broad. They nothing, no like fanciness about it. This definitely is an upgrade into a different realm.
I would say it's an embellishment more so than an upgrade. An upgrade to me sounds like instead of getting a steel nib, you're going to get a gold nib for the same cost. I think that it's just they're giving you more options.
Yeah, because you could use it just as a standard, but then like you could really, especially it's supposed to be somewhat flexible as well, right? Like if you put a little bit of pressure on it, like
it's a dangerous territory to step into. As soon as you say it's flexible, what people will do, they'll start to flex it. If they start to flex it and something happens to the nib...
And then it gets sprung.
Yeah, whose responsibility is it at that point? Is it the user? Well, it did say that. I would say that it has a touch more line variation that a normal flex nib would... a normal steel nib would offer.
Right.
I also have here, I love this. I don't know how to pronounce it. Natashia?
Natashia, yeah.
Tasha?
Yeah, you say Tasha.
So to me, this nib is very unique, has a very fine nib, just like it's on par with the Pilot nibs and your Sailor nibs. As a matter of fact, the nib is made by Sailor.
Yes.
You were telling me earlier. What I love about this pen is not just how it writes, because it writes as well as any of the other Japanese nibs. What I love about the pen is it makes me laugh every time I look at it. You want to know why?
Why's that?
Because this pen is the biggest identity crisis of a pen I've ever seen. It has an Italian name, Natashia. It's made in Japan. It's called green. This is not green. They haven't gotten anything right with this pen except for how it looks and how it feels and the writing experience. I love it. The clip, I don't know what that's supposed to be. It looks like a snake.
Yeah,
so you've got a snake on a pen that's called green, that's not green, and on a pen that's named in Italian, but it's not Italian, made by Japanese people. You have a confused dude up there in Japan making pens, not knowing what this thing is, but he put out a good product.
Yeah, so you got there the Lamy Ion, right?
Controversial pen. I want to talk about this pen a little bit. The other day I was watching a great man named David Parker from Fig Boot on Pens. He was doing a review and he was talking about tolerances. You hear that sound right there? Now, what I noticed with this pen is, when it comes to capping it, it's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be, I don't think. This just might be. With my pen. I actually spoke to Dawn at length about this, and here's the thing. This pen, and some of them do and some of them don't. When you secure it, watch this. You hear that click? Now we got room. But if you go a little further, there's a second.
Ooh.
And now
you don't have it.
Now I don't have it. Now I asked Dawn to look at her entire inventory of ions, and what she either had was one snap and then it didn't shake, or she had the double snap. Now I don't know if that's intentional on part of Lamy, but if that was a point of contention for people, and you're watching this, here's what you do. You call Dawn and you tell her about it, but don't tell her I told you specifically. She may find out if she watches this, which she probably won't.
No, she will.
She will?
I think she will.
I'm sorry, you're going to get a lot of calls. But for those of you watching, if you want to get a Lamy Ion and you can't tolerate the fact that if you push once and then push harder, it has 2 snaps, then call her up and ask her to check for you, because she will. Because when you have just a really ridiculously anal retentive customer like myself, and you're calling and asking all kinds of questions, she's just the sweetest person on the planet. She went and checked sizes, colors. Does this one smell or not? For me. By the way, with Noodler's pens, the answer is always yes.
Yeah, except for the acrylic ones, yeah, or the ebonite ones, yeah.
But this pen here, I love the way it writes. I love the design of the nib. It's pretty much the same as your Safari, just a little bit rounded on the shoulders, but it writes really well. It takes a different converter than the Z24, what's it called?
Oh, so it takes the 26?
It takes the one without the little nubs on the side.
Yeah, that's the 26,
so you wouldn't want to use that on this one. This one is just rounded, and you stick it in, and boom, you're good to go. This pen is great. I'm going to do a review on this one as well. Actually, I have a lot to catch up on. I got to stop making crazy videos about myself getting taken hostage. Here's another one. Pelican Pura?
Yeah.
I like this pen. The quality on this is pretty good. I like the clip. I like how flat it is against the body. It's got its caveat though. I like the spring-loaded mechanism. The only caveat with this clip is when you put it into material that's somewhat thick and it's not just like a regular dress shirt.
Right.
It's gonna stick. It's gonna stay open because it's tucked into the narrowest part.
Right.
But other than that, it's a pretty decent pen.
I noticed from like taking a look at some of the pens there, you don't mind metal sections too much. I know that's a bother for some people.
Well, see, the thing about metal sections is this. For some people, and I find that the way a lot of people grip the pen, they hold the pen with the pen in the crook of their thumb. Right in here. I actually hold it out over the top of my knuckle. Okay. So I don't do Spencerian script, but I find that writing...
I'm trying to think of how I even do mine. I think I just kind of like go like this.
So what I do is I just like the weight of the pen to bear down on itself.
Right.
The more I have it at an angle that becomes more parallel or less of an angle, the pressure has to be provided by the writer. If you point it upwards, the pressure is provided by the pen. Right. So what you find is you can write longer. Now I had to do a lot of writing and studying at one point, and I'm talking 30 pages of handwritten notes. And by the time the day comes, if I'm not writing with proper form and posture, it's like I got run over by a truck.
Yeah, you're just done.
What is this here?
Yeah, so I was gonna open this up here. Something we just got in yesterday. It's a new edition from Aurora, which we've done a video on this already. This is the Optima in the limited edition flex nib. So it's what they say is cast acrylic. Optima, and it's got the 14 karat flex nib on there. So I just wanted to, take this out because this is something that is just brand new, and each pen is numbered. So you see the number that's on there. It's printed on the top there. What are your thoughts on just generally flex nibs? I know that you've kind of touched on that a little bit. You've done some test fires with the modern flex, and you had a modified flex nib as well. I think it was on an Edison pen that you were writing with as well.
Right. I had an Edison Pearl and Fern Ebonite, and I ended up buying flex nibs from this woman named Linda Kennedy. Right. She is a ninja assassin when it comes to making flex nibs. I'm telling you, there's probably very few nibs out there that are even close to coming to what she produces. She produces a modern flex nib out of a modern Yovo gold nib, but she somehow makes it into what would be a 1920s vintage writer.
Like a wet noodle sort of thing?
Yeah. Now, when you get it and you write with it, you'll be blown away. It's like take a stick of dynamite and swallow it. You'll be all over the place. The thing is so well made. She doesn't just make the nib. She makes
the feed, not from scratch, rather. She modifies the feed in such a way that it provides sufficient ink flow. So you're never like, oh, it's railroading again. Like some pens, man.
That's why I think a lot of flex, like, because people think it's mostly just the nib itself. Like they think, oh, it's because they have to engineer the nib in order to be flexible, and like how much does it flex? And like, well, like if you look at it that way, the Zebra G nibs, they flex, but the thing is that whether there's a feed like that's built and engineered to keep up with because it's really demanding on the whole system, the fact that like all of a sudden you could be just writing normally as like a fine nib would be, and then you put pressure on the tines and all of a sudden you're basically painting with the nib. And that's what some people think is like, oh, that's what I want like something that's going to give me these giant swells. But the problem is that it's essentially you're telling the pen, it's like, okay, I'm in first gear and all of a sudden I want to kick it up to fifth gear and just start motoring, and like most nibs just really can't handle that because they're made with plastic feeds. They're not made for that. They're not built for that.
Right. I see what you're saying. You're saying you're trying to do 70 miles an hour on a Razor scooter.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So that's the thing about vintage pens, because I have several vintage pens. The feeds and the nibs are made differently than they are today. Nowadays, you have just a couple of different feeds, and they're either made in house or they're made by some dude in China, pumping out 7,000 of them a minute. These feeds here are made of ebonite, and I really appreciate that. But I'm wondering, have these feeds been modified by Aurora in any way to support a flex nib?
I believe that they had been, because there's really no other explanation for how it's able to keep up, because like I've had experience with a number of different flex nibs, and Aurora's ability just always to keep it fresh, and it never really had any issues with any sort of railroading, or even if I'm doing it very quickly, it just still keeps up. Granted, yeah, the line variation isn't what you would expect with, let's say, like looking at like a vintage flex nib, but it still does provide that line variation, and does it in a springy sort of way, so it's able to snap back and not not essentially splay itself, especially after putting it through so many repeated things. So the best thing I would probably say, like the closest analog, would be the old Olmas extra flexibile nibs, and those is they're hard to come by because the company is no longer in business. But like I think that's kind of like the torch has been passed to Aurora with that charge of like having an actual modern flexible gold nib.
Well, if you ask me, I would say that the Aurora flex nibs, starting with the 88s, are significantly better than the ones that Conklin tried to offer on their limited edition demonstrator series. That pen is beautiful in every way except the nib.
Yeah.
It's such a sad shame, because what I ended up doing was taking out that gold nib in the Conklin limited edition demonstrator and just put in a regular Conklin steel nib. It's a better experience because the feed, like you were saying,
it just
doesn't support the flex nib. Second, because of that feed, that pen railroads, it puts down so many railroads. Like you have like metro stations throughout the city being like, how did I'm jealous. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then it doesn't take much. After you write with it, the nibs, it stays apart.
Right.
The whole thing looks like telephone wire that you just stripped, and now the wires are pointing in every direction.
Yeah, so you would have that issue where it actually would splay, and then you're left with, instead of like starting off at that like fine point, now you're like at a medium or broad point.
Right.
And then when you're trying to push the flex even further, then it's like it's hardly even showing any sort of flexibility.
Well, these I like because they're very springy, but it does take more than it does for, like I said, with like the Linda Kennedy's flex nib.
Right.
But for a modern flex nib, and if you're saying, if this is not a full flex, which I don't believe it is, it's a semi-flex.
It's semi. By like, overall like pen standards, like vintage pens and everything, it would be semi-flexible, yeah.
For sure, I would prefer this over a Pilot Custom 912 with the FA nib, for sure, in terms of just providing ink, consistent ink flow, and line variation is probably on par with each other. But for sure, I would probably take this one over it. That's if the extra cost is worth it. But then again, if you were buying a slice of pizza, would you rather pay $3 for a slice made by me or a $6 slice made by, I don't know, an Italian dude from Italy? I would pay the $6. That depends a lot on everybody else, but you're getting a good slice here, even though it costs a lot. What does this run now?
They are about five and change around there. Like with the, I think it's over 600 for the MSRP, but like we sell it at a discount. But this is the first edition in it. This is the dark blue, and this year they're going to introduce, like, after probably like once every month or every 2 months, they're going to introduce a new color for it. But the blues end up usually being the most popular, so it's probably not going to last very long. But the other colors are going to be like more of like a pastel sort of range. I want to say like more like calmer sort of colors, if that makes sense. I think there's a light blue. There's going to be a yellow, a red. But they're I being that they're also limited to only 330 pieces, like it's a nice it's a nice pickup, and it has the piston filler and everything like that. So it's a nice little pen.
Where do they come up with these numbers? 333. Last time it was 188.
Well, I know what the 88s they did. I think they did 188.
Okay.
Like so, or 188 or 388. So they have the 88s in there, to kind of go with a nice like little segue into the next thing we were talking to when we were doing the limited edition for the retro 51 Skyline pens. We had decided we wanted to be about like 300. But we decided like, we wanted to get a little bit more and not have it be such an even number. So we went like 333, just because it's, like, especially for somebody who likes the number 3, it's, to have 333 is like a nice, like, little auspicious, way to end it.
He's so auspicious. I don't know what that means.
It's good luck. It's like, it's like fortunate. We're actually working on doing the next in the series. And, no one really knows about this so much yet. But this is actually the prototype model. So you can see, like, on here it says proof. This is like one of the very few that probably are actually made it out of the box, because what happened was, all of a sudden, like after the first week that the New York City Skyline came out, all of a sudden it just completely sold out, and people started to pop up on eBay for like $250, $300 a piece. And this is a pen that's, it's not a $300 pen. All of a sudden, because of its rarity, just shot up in value. But we're looking to go forward with the next edition probably in the next few months. We're still working on the final production design, but that'll actually be a higher count. And we actually had taken the number, the final edition number, from one of the features in the city that we're going to. And I'm kind of teasing you as I go along, because I'm not gonna say like which actual city that we're going to, but it has to do with the number of paintings in a particular museum that opened in this particular city. So like we're excited to expand the number. It's going to be a higher number, but and I'll give you the number. It's 537. So if you could kind of like do some Google foo and and do some research about it, you might be able to figure out what city is that we're going to go to.
This pen here is a ballpoint pen.
It's actually considered to be a capless rollerball.
Oh.
But it can be converted to ballpoint.
Are you gonna get one made for fountain pen enthusiasts? An exclusive maybe, or something like that?
Well, see, the thing is, I've seen it before, is like the limited edition rollerball might come out in a retro 51, and then you might have the fountain pen counterpart would come out. So that might be a possibility in the future, although like we've been being the taskmaster of retro 51 and trying to be like, let's do like another limited. So like they can only do so much. Like they have numerous different retailers that are asking them for doing things like Farney's or Anderson Pens has got the Chicago pen. You have Van Ness Pens has an edition as well. So there's a lot of people asking for different things. So like they're kind of like, whoa guys, we appreciate the fact that you love purchasing hundreds of pens from us at one time, but like we have to kind of make sure that everybody it's all fair for everybody who wants to have their turn in line, and that we want to do a quality job, because like if this had lines on it that weren't exactly like, you know, engineering like quality type of lines, this wouldn't look, you know, half as good as it does. But since it has like that CAD drafting style, like where you can see like the buildings in just perfect perspective, and the details on it are just so intricately done. You know, this wouldn't be as good as it is, you know, especially like the detail with the Statue of Liberty and everything. And that's what we really wanted to work with them on, like the future editions, and like specifically go over like, let's just make sure this is done perfectly the next time around. That way it just becomes such a highly desirable and highly collectible series. So but it's great to collaborate, because I love, you know, like working with other folks like yourself, and coming up with like new and different things, and you know, kind of pushing the envelope a little bit, and getting outside of our comfort zone, and coming up with these new awesome creative things for the pen community, which, you know, have taken to it with such enthusiasm. So
I want to talk about the Pelican brand as a whole. This one here is the cognac. This is your cognac, right? And it's filled with what color ink?
It's Blackstone Wild Orange.
Blackstone Wild Orange. Now, is that an actual cognac, or is that an ink? Be
It's
honest.
a triple distilled 100-year-old cognac.
Awesome. So I've noticed that Pelican's been putting out more M600 series as of recent, and the price point is a lot lower. I remember when an M600 would cost about $500. Well, now it's competitive at $380. Why is that?
It's mostly due to the market pressure. It's you know, it's the European Union is able to get a better price, like no doubt, but like the discrepancy between what the prices that European retailers were selling them for, and then American, you know, the American market was able to sell it for, is just such a drastic thing, and it was causing a lot of American buyers to go outside. And I mean, with the web as it is, it's a great tool, because you could easily translate pages, and then, you know, like the international websites are more English friendly anyway to begin with. But, you know, the fact that you could just easily source them outside, and then even with shipping, it ends up being less than, you know, what our cost would be to bring them in. So it's really due to kind of like create a more fair marketplace, so that the American, you know, you could actually buy from an American retailer, which has its benefits in the first place anyway, because you couldn't do like any with any Pelican that you purchase of the Souverain series, you could have your nib swapped within 30 days of purchase directly with Pelican. So even if you're not a fan of your particular nib size, you could just, you know, decide to change your mind. Also, the warranty service is upheld within the United States. If you purchased it outside, you'd have to ship it back to whoever you purchased it, you know, in Europe or wherever, and then they would have to go and send it to their distributor. So it kind of cuts down, just in case that there's any sort of issue, like if, let's say, you destroyed your cap, or your clip broke, or you know, splayed the nib or something, like you could always get service within the United States and not have to worry about that huge turnaround time.
Well, I think we covered a lot. We talked about a lot of pens.
Talked about a lot.
So once again, Tom Otto from Goldspot Pens, thank you for having me here at your offices. It's a pretty cool place. They got a lot of pens here. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys tune into my channel, on the PenBoyRoy Fountain Pen Review channel. You could just go to YouTube, type in PenBoyRoy, one word.
It's been a blast, and we've been at this for a while today, but it was great to hang out, to meet you in person, and see the face behind the YouTube channel, and, you know, talk pens and stuff like that. It's been great.
It doesn't get much nerdier than this. We're proud of it. Thanks again. Be well, be safe.
Thank you, guys. Have a great one, and stay inky, my friends.